So I wanted to talk about what just happened last night. So my roommate's 83 and he does things that I don't like, and I'm trying to teach him the right way. So when I was in Lynn myself, I invited people who were homeless and drug addicts into my house for a place to sleep so they wouldn't freeze to death outside. The shelters weren't letting them in. They were sleeping in snowy stepways and hallways and things like that. So I let them in my apartment, but I learned that will get you evicted. I helped a lot of people out, but it got me evicted and I learned my lesson. Well, my roommates got thrown out of a lot of housing for letting drug addicts in the house. I've been sober for a long time. I tell them, no, you're not bringing drugs into my house. You are not walking around naked with some weirdo. I'm not gonna fucking have you guys fucking each other on my kitchen table. No. I have a camera. He's not allowed in the house. And we're talking about a guy named Eric. He was a customer of mine, and I told him that he can no longer show up at my work. I didn't want to go to his house. I told him I don't want to hang out with you. He invited me to some party, like 5 years ago, and that's when no, it was 4 years ago. He invited me to a party. I went to the party. There was a lot of drinking. I ended up having a beer and leaving. And then I introduced him to my roommate, seeing as I found out he was homosexual. He was in his 36, and my roommate can't control his sexual urges, and I'm worried about the children in the area, seeing as he's a sex offender who can't control his sexual urges, who did 7 years in prison because he had sex with an underage male. I thought, okay, this will keep him busy because while I'm at work, I'm very worried about this individual and his behaviors. And I'm trying to keep this community safe by keeping an eye on him. If he's over at some consenting adult, that might help him with his urges. So I just said, hey, my roommate, can I give you his number? And he said, yeah, so gave him the number. Now, that didn't work out. My roommate started bringing him in the house. I said, no, you go to his place. I gave you his number. He invited you to his house. Do not bring him into my house. He said, I'll bring whoever I feel like. So then I had to get the police involved. And this guy's bringing drugs, needles, meth pipes. I had to have him arrested. I had to have him removed. And my roommate is doing this to me, bringing drugs into my house. I made it very clear, no, no, no. So I haven't seen this guy anymore since the last time I called the police. But he does try to stop by every so often, and I say, no, you can't stop by. I'll send David out. And David's doing this just to piss me off. There's no other reason. He's no longer having sex with this man. He's not hanging out. It's just because he wants to piss me off. If I tell him he needs to clean up his poop in the bathroom and then I leave for work, I see on the camera that he invites this guy over. This guy's going through my stuff, rolling around in my bed. It's disgusting. And then I come home and say, Dave, I can see him on camera. I see what you're doing. Okay, fast forward to last night. So I've made it very clear. If I see him, I'm calling the police. He is not allowed in my apartment. This is my apartment. No drugs are allowed. No police are. I don't want any police issues. As well as this individual is going to lose his place. And then he's going to want to stay here. And I try to explain this to my roommate. This guy's on drugs. He doesn't know how to hold a job. He's psycho. He's walking around naked. He can't control his sexual urges. So I don't want him anywhere near me. And you shouldn't be with him I made it very clear. After I met him a couple more times, I told David, no, this isn't a good idea. A couple beers and the fact that he's gay is okay. But if there's other drugs involved, if he's going nuts, if he's losing his apartment, you need to stop seeing this guy. And so I tried that right from the beginning. I just gave him a phone number. They became friends, but as soon as I saw that there was more to this guy than just a gay person who drinks a beer here and there, I realized that this was a bad situation. And the only reason why I realized that is because Dave was trying to bring him into my house. That was never the plan. I gave you a phone number and I said, if you want to go to his house, feel free. You're a grown adult, 83 years old. If you want to visit and go to his trailer, where there's a yard, his father was paying for a trailer. This kid named Eric, his father paid for everything, but Eric is 36 years old, whining, my father's fault for this, and my father's fault for this, and my father's fault for this. I'm like, guy, he doesn't have to pay your rent. He doesn't have to do anything. I get crippled. I have Social Security fucked up for my father, and you want to whine because he's not buying you food? It's not your father's responsibility to buy you food and pay your rent. I mean, even as a child, did he house you? Well, yeah, but he was mean about it. That's so mean. I didn't even get to live with my father. I spent years in programs. Did you get held down and injected with medicine? He goes, no, but they made me eat my vegetables or something like that. I mean, this is ridiculous. You're blaming your father for telling you that you shouldn't do drugs and for pay. He didn't pay, he didn't give you enough money. He only paid your rent. Oh my God, he only paid your rent and he dropped off. He drove all the way to food pantries. He gave you wood to keep you warm for your fireplace. And you want more? You think it's your father? So this guy Eric has major issues. He doesn't support himself. He doesn't have a job. He doesn't pay his own rent. He doesn't buy his own food. And any money that he gets, he buys on drugs. And if his father doesn't give him money to spend on drugs, he whines, my father this, my father that. I mean, come on, man. I spent years living in the woods while my father was drinking on a beach, but you don't hear me complaining about it. I was made crippled by my mother and drugged, overboard drugged, well, like all the time, and I was double drugged in a lot of hospitals, and my mother gave me extra medicines, and I had to overdose. But do I complain and whine, and blame them for everything in my life? No, I bring the facts, and I'm trying to get medical treatment. I go to the doctor. Why doesn't Eric try to go to the doctor and get help for his addiction, or why doesn't he try to get a job? I don't know. I mean, he's not even trying. It's not like me where I apply, I try to get different apartments. No, this kid doesn't even want to apply for another apartment. He doesn't even want to apply for a job. He wants everything handed to him. While I work 10 times harder than every other individual, I see this kid wanting everything handed to him. So I want nothing to do with that. Well, David is using this kid as like a weapon now to just try to cause problems. You gotta remember, my roommate likes to cause problems. These disabled people, like Raymond or David, they like to cause problems. I'm not quite sure why, it's something psychological, but they like to cause disasters or problems and then have me clean it up. And if I don't clean it up, then there's bigger problems and more problems. Like if he spends, let's say my roommate goes out and uses his credit cards for the month, and then he has no money for rent. Oh, well, that is a problem. And he does stuff like that. He'll use all his credit cards and he'll ask me to pay his rent. Okay, well, what do? I pay his damn rent and tell him that he has to pay me back, but I almost never get the money. Why do I do this? Because the rent, if his half isn't paid, goes on me. If my roommate does not pay his half of the rent, that doesn't mean that I get a scot-free, no, it means I get evicted. If my roommate doesn't do what he's supposed to be doing, then the consequences can get on me, and that's the problem. Your decisions in life can affect other people. Just like my roommate, if he makes a decision to go out and use his credit cards and then he doesn't have rent money, if he makes that decision, that can affect me. And then I have to work twice as hard to pay that. So, back to last night. This kid, Eric, came knocking at the door at midnight last night. Now, I've made it very clear that I don't want him in my house. I even walked all the way to his house to tell him, stay away from David, stay away from me. I even talked to his father, because his father was talking to me about how Eric's going to be losing his trailer and he doesn't want him staying over here, and I made it very clear I don't want him staying over here. Me and his father are on the same terms. Me and him talk and we got the same page. I got David, he got Eric. We all got our crosses to bear. So anyway, this Eric fella is not supposed to be knocking on the door. I made it very clear that I'll call the police. The camera is out there. I've explained to him that I've given that camera footage to the landlord. The landlord's allowed to check the camera anytime he wants. And so, no, you cannot be here. Even though the landlord doesn't really matter, the landlord doesn't even know this person is showing up. But still, that's what I tell Eric. So I say, no, I'm not allowed to have company. You're not allowed here. I'll have to call the police. I can't have drugs in my house. I've been sober. I work really hard on my sobriety. And you're not working on your sobriety and you're not working on yourself. If you start working on yourself, maybe I'll try to help you. Maybe I'll go over to see you. But right now, I don't want anything to do with you. Well, he comes knocking on the door anyways, midnight. Even though he knows I'm going to call the police, he knows I don't want him here. He knows I have to work early in the morning, even though really today it's I don't have to leave till like 12:45. But he doesn't need to know that because sometimes I have to get up at 3 in the morning. And he's knocking on the door at midnight, slamming, screaming in the hallway, "Let me in, let me in." I wake up out of a sound sleep. I probably fell asleep around 10. Now I got this idiot knocking at the door at 12 midnight. So after I hear them call, "David, David, David," I hear out the door. I've been woken up out of a sound sleep. I'm hearing banging on my door, and I'm hearing, "David, David, David." So I turn to my roommate and I say, "Handle your shit, handle that, because this guy's not going to just go away." The neighbors are being woken up now because there's a guy screaming in the hallway, slamming on the door. So David opens the door, and this guy just barges into the house, into the apartment. Now, I don't have a shirt on. I only got my pants on. And now a guy's just barging in my house. My bedroom is all dark, and it's not going well. So I make it very clear, "You cannot stay. You need to leave. You cannot stay. You need to leave." Then I turn to David, "You handle your shit." Then I went to use the bathroom. He asked for water, water, water. I just said, "Whatever. I'm going to go take a pee. When I get out of this bathroom, when I'm done peeing, I want you out. If I come out of that bathroom and you're still here, I'm calling the police." Then I turn to David, "Handle your shit." And then I go to the bathroom. When I come out, is he gone? No, he's crawling into the beds. He's trying to crawl into our beds, and then he doesn't want to leave. Like we have to pick him up and rip him out of our apartment. But I'm not fighting with a kid at 12 in the morning. I got work tomorrow. I got shit to do, and I got my own stress level. I'm shaking. I have a neurological disorder, seizures. I got this fucking asshole that just barged into my apartment. He's now trying to sleep in my beds that I paid good money for. He's going through my fridge, opening my milks and shit. I mean, he's not asking, he's just going through my shit. I mean, this kid got thrown out of his trailer because of his behaviors. I told him I wanted nothing to do with him years ago. I stayed away from him. I made it very clear I didn't even want him in my stores. But the problem is that I cannot control my roommate's decisions. What my roommate wants to do is his decisions. But when you make a decision like getting a ride off of somebody or visiting somebody at their trailer, there's consequences where if they lose their trailer, they might try to come into your home. And I explained this years ago that this might happen. I saw this about to happen. So anyways, I tell him, "I'm sorry, man, I'm sorry, but you gotta go. I'm calling the police right now." So I go to look for the phone. David's already on the police downstairs, so he's trying to handle it. But here's the problem. Instead of handling it right in front of Eric and getting this guy out of my house, he left him in my house going through my milk, going in the beds. Meanwhile, where is David? He's downstairs calling the police. So I'm stuck now playing babysitter with this damn kid that I never had anything to do with. He's a damn customer. Years ago, I made it very clear I didn't want anything to do with this guy. I wanted him far away from me. That way this wouldn't ever happen. I knew he was going to get thrown out of his trailer. And where do you think he's going to try to go? I told David this exact conversation. When Eric gets thrown out of the trailer, where do you think he's going to go? He's going to try to come here. And I don't mean, "Oh, you can't say, well, I'll just say no." It doesn't work like that. He barges into the apartment. He slides into the bed. He opens up milk. It's not like people ask for permission. So then we had to call the police. David called. I met them outside with him. The guy was running into the woods. Before he went into the woods, he was half naked. So I gave him a shirt and a jacket. I don't care if I'm losing, but I still have a heart. I don't care if it costs me money to give him that leather jacket. I don't care that it costs me money to give him a bright red shirt. But this guy's going to be living out in the woods tonight. If he's avoiding the police, if he has no place to go, he's going to be out there for the night. And you can't be half naked. He's all, I think he might even been like in barefoot or in slippers. He had no shirt on, nothing. Nothing but a pair of pajamas. So what I did is I gave him a jacket, I gave him a shirt, and then while we were waiting for the police to arrive too, I'm giving him this as he's trying to leave to avoid the police and their arriving. I still have a heart, but I cannot have somebody with drugs high as a kite in my house. That is not acceptable. I have my own recovery to worry about. I want to help this guy, but you can't go, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. What do you need? Water? Here's water. Here's a granola bar. Here's a shirt. Here's a jacket. Now, don't come in my house. If you need something, call us. We'll meet you outside. I don't mind helping people. If he called us yesterday afternoon and told us that he needed clothing, I would have brought him clothing, and he knows this. I do it with many other people, but this guy doesn't want to do this. This guy wants to show up at midnight and just take stuff and go through my fridge. He wants to jump in the bed without permission. He wants to barge in the house before we invite him in. He wants to knock on the door at 12 midnight with knowing that he has no permission to be here at all. That I've already told him I'll call the police before. He knows all of this is going on. He knows that I pushed him away. I made it very clear last time I saw him. He stopped by my store. I said, no, I don't want anything to do with this. I don't want to go to your house. I don't want you coming to my house. I don't want anything to do. Oh, David comes over. Well, I can't stop David from doing what David wants to do. That's a whole different situation. You can't force people to listen to you. All you can do is lead by example. So yes, I had to deal with a psychotic drug addict, high as a kite, yesterday, barging into my apartment, and it had nothing to do with my decisions other than he's one of my customers, and I gave the phone number and hooked him up with my roommate. But as soon as I saw that this is not just a beer drinker, gay person, this is some psychotic individual, I told and warned my roommate, this was 4 years ago, that this guy is trouble, bad idea. I've already pushed him away, keep him away. And then he brought him back in. I made it very clear that this was going to end up being bad. This person's going to, try to take over my apartment, and I'm not having it.